Stromberg-Carlson was a telecommunications equipment and electronics manufacturing company in the United States. It was formed in 1894 as a partnership by Alfred Stromberg and Androve Carlson. It was one of 5 companies that controlled the national supply of telephone equipment until after World War II. History. In 1894, Alexander Graham Bell's patent for the telephone expired. Stromberg and Carlson, Chicago employees of the American Bell Telephone Company, each invested $500 to establish a firm to manufacture equipment, primarily subscriber sets, for sale to independent telephone companies. Stromberg-Carlson was originally located in Chicago, with Carlson managing manufacturing and Stromberg responsible for marketing. Stromberg-Carlson quickly established a reputation for reliable equipment and stable prices. In 1901, the temporary chief executive of the Kellogg Switchboard and Supply Company, Wallace D. Wolf, assisted executives of rival telephone equipment manufacturer Western Electric in an attempt to take over Stromberg-Carlson. A bitter stockholder fight ensued, and the takeover attempt failed. Stromberg-Carlson reincorporated as a New York State corporation in 1902, where state law better protected the company from takeover efforts. In 1904, Stromberg-Carlson was purchased by Home Telephone Company, a relatively large service provider based in Rochester, New York. The new owners quickly relocated all Stromberg-Carlson operations to New York, mainly to the Rochester area. The company branched out to become a major manufacturer of consumer electronics including home telephones, radio receivers and, after World War II, television sets. The company also became involved in the broadcasting industry, acquiring Wham, the oldest station in Rochester, and rebuilding it into a high-power station, one of the first 3 FM broadcasting stations in the United States and possibly the oldest still in operation, now known as WBZA, dating from 1939, and one of upstate New York's pioneer television broadcasters, now known as WROC-TV. In 1955, Stromberg-Carlson was purchased by General Dynamics. Within a year, all 3 of its broadcasting stations had been sold to different buyers. In 1970, Stromberg delivered the first crossread PBX to the newly constructed Disney World in Orlando, Florida. Over the next 10 years, more than 7,000 crossreads were delivered globally. During the 1970s, Stromberg developed what is arguably the first fully digital PBX, the DBX. The first DBX was installed at Export, Pennsylvania in 1977 and consisted of 960 ports. While this first field trial had limited success, Stromberg went on to develop the DBX 240, DBX 1200 and the DBX 5000. Also during this same period, Stromberg developed a number of leading-edge technologies and products, including the first digital AUTOVON switching system and the first digital command and control communications system. By 1980, General Dynamics was undergoing a significant change, and in 1982, General Dynamics sold the Stromberg-Carlson operations in several parts. The Stromberg Key Systems was sold to Comdeal. The PBX-DBX division was sold to United Technologies and the Central Office division was sold to Plessey of the UK. Plessey eventually sold Stromberg-Carlson, the DCO business unit, to Siemens AG in 1991. The new company, Siemens Stromberg-Carlson, became the 3rd largest vendor of central office switches in the United States, with a combined installed base of 5 million access lines. They continued to manufacture the Siemens DCO as well as the Siemens EWSD out of the Lake Mary facility, moving production of the EWSD from New York to Florida. In 2006, the DCEO line of Siemens Stromberg-Carlson was sold to GENBAND, a next-generation networking company based in Texas. Products. Switching systems. Stromberg-Carlson produced several unique switching systems, including XY, a flat motion switch logically similar to Strauger switching. The XY selector was not invented by SC, but licensed from LM Ericsson of Sweden in the late 40s and re-engineered for US switching applications. XY was very popular with RAI-funded independent telephone companies and outsold all other vendors in the less than 1,000 line applications in the 50s. The largest XY ever in service was installed in Anchorage, Alaska by RCA Corporation for the U.S. Air Force. Later purchased by Anchorage Telephone Co., it eventually grew to over 10,000 lines. Crossread 400 and 800, 1600, and electronically controlled. Wired logic PBX with expansion up to 2,400 ports, notable for its quick dial tone speed and first video telephone in the world. ESC, an early electronic, wired logic, reed switch with a matrix similar to the AEAX. The ESC was not, however, stored program control and had more in common with crossbar switching than other SPC electronic switching systems. It was, however, notable for its quick dial tone speed. DBX 288, 1344, 5136, and Excalibur, the first fully digital PBX. Used a LSI PDP-11 microprocessor in the early models and grew up to over 32,000 ports and 128,000 directories in the Excalibur. DCO, a time division switch similar to DMS-10. The Stromberg-Carlson DCO was the first Class 5 digital local office switching system installed in the U.S. Stromberg-Carlson put the switch into service in July 1977 in Richmond Hill, Georgia. This switch was SC's Rye Field trial office, but was never accepted by the telephone company and was replaced with a Northern Telecom DMS-10 in the early 80s. Military, institutional and consumer electronics. In addition to telephone equipment, Stromberg-Carlson produced military communications gear, institutional sound systems, and high-end stereophonic equipment. Many included Stromberg-Carlson's acoustic labyrinth loudspeaker enclosure design, a forerunner of the modern transmission line loudspeaker enclosures. In the early 1960s, Stromberg-Carlson also produced the SC4020, a computer-controlled film recorder used chiefly for comm applications. The SC4020 could output graphics and text either to 16mm microfilm or hardcopy, utilizing a Charactron court as the heart of the recorder. Some 4020s were fitted with a 16mm motion picture camera instead of the stock microfilm camera, in order to create some of the first computer-generated animation. This was first accomplished by Bell Telephone Laboratories in the early to mid-1960s, where a 4020 was interfaced to an IBM 7094 computer, running a language for motion graphics generation called BEFLIX. Several films were created with BEFLIX on the 4020 at Bell Labs. The first being a film simulating the orbit of a satellite around planet Earth, produced in 1963 by Bell Labs scientist Edward E. Zajac. Other Bell Labs personnel at the time, such as Ken Knowlton and Lillian Schwartz, also used the recorder and its corresponding computer to make their own computer-animated film experiments. The 4020 also played a role in creating some of the imagery used in the 1965-69 experimental film Cybernetic 5.3, produced by John Stahura. Among Stromberg-Carlson's ventures were radio and television receivers, loudspeakers, paging systems, commercial sound amplifiers, and microphones. The ubiquitous BC-348HF radio, manufactured during World War II and for a decade after, institutional intercom and public address systems. ground, air-ground tactical communications, AUTOVON, and secure systems used by various government agencies worldwide. Fire alarm products, such as bells and horns. SC4020 Microfilm Printer and Plotter. The microfilm printer was originally developed for the Social Security Administration to handle its large volume of microfilm data. In 1959, Stromberg-Carlson introduced the SC4020, a computer-controlled microfilm printer and plotter, used chiefly for comm applications. The SC4020 utilized a Charactron cathode ray tube with an internal mask through which the electron beam was deflected to choose an alphanumeric character, and the character-shaped beam was then deflected to a target position on the faceplate of the court. A 35mm or 16mm shutterless camera, in a light-proof enclosed cabinet along with the court, captured the imagery produced on the faceplate. The film was then developed chemically, separate from the SC4020, and could be later enlarged onto paper. The instructions to control the SC4020 were created by a mainframe computer and transferred to the SC4020 on magnetic tape. A quick look, separate from the SC4020, was available using zinc oxide photosensitized paper. Though intended as a high-speed printer, the SC4020 could be used to create vector graphical output of scientific and engineering data, rather than plotting numbers by hand. Early installations of the SC4020, with its plotter capability, were at the Lawrence Radiation Laboratory in Livermore, CA, and at Bell Telephone Laboratories, Incorporated in Murray Hill, NJ. The SC4020 could also be used to create computer-animated movies on a frame-by-frame basis. These computer-animated movies, usually using vector graphics, were of scientific and engineering data and also of artistic investigations, done with the 35mm camera or the 16mm camera. Pin-registered cameras were used for creating movies on the SC4020 to minimize jitter. Computer-animated movies using raster graphics were created on the SC4020 at Bell Labs in the early 1960s using Fortran and the BEFLIX subroutine language. A much larger 19-inch diameter Charactron court was used for military radar screen displays. Around 1968, the Stromberg Data Graphics SD4360, controlled by a mini-computer, was introduced as a replacement of the SC4020, and replaced the SC4020 at Bell Labs. SC4020 seems to have become almost a generic term, including not only the original SC4020 but also the various similar machines that followed. When it all happened 1948, first Charactron cathode ray tube built. 1949 Convair begins development project of Charactron program. 1954 major contract for Charactron tubes received. First Charactron microfilm printer built. 1955 Stromberg-Carlson merges with General Dynamics and Charactron project transferred from Convair to Stromberg-Carlson. 1959 First graphic comm recorder introduced. 1961 General Dynamics Electronic Division acquires Charactron project. 1964 reorganization moves Charactron Group back to Stromberg-Carlson where it becomes the Data Products Division. 1965 Model 4400 Business comm recorder introduced. 1966 production begins on Model 4060. 1967 Data Graphics introduces its first microfiche reader. 1968 Data Products Division of Stromberg-Carlson Corporation established as separate corporation, Stromberg Data Graphics, Inc. 1969 Company name changed to Stromberg Data Graphics, Inc. First production models of A-New, an ASA 70 delivered to Navy. 1970 Model 4200 online comm recorder introduced. 1972 First laser beam comm recorder exhibited. 1973 System 4500 introduced. 1975 Models 4540 and 4560 comm recorders introduced. 1976 Autofiche introduced. Name officially changed to Datagraphics, Inc. 1977 Mini Autocom and online Autocom recorders introduced. First 132-column display terminal introduced. 1980 installed first Model 9800 high-speed laser page printer. Non-US branding. In Argentina, the brand was acquired by Gula OSA, a manufacturer of MP3, MP4 players, DVDs, phones, GPS receivers, televisions and speakers.